Welcome to Needful Things again. Here's the flower that we're going to be working on today. Now you at the end you can just chain more chains and then connect flowers together and make a long line of flowers. Okay, so let's take our yarn and make a slip knot. Later on we're going to be doing something with a magic circle. I hate magic circles, but you have to use them. And those surgical knots, oh my god. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to take it back into the very first chain and slip stitched it into there, so we've made a loop. Then we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slip stitch back into the very first chain again. All of these little petals, chain petals that we're making, will be slip stitched back into the very first slip stitch. That's why you did the extra one. And then slip stitch there. Now we've got 2 little petals. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slip stitch back into that center one again. Now we have 3 little petals. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slip stitch back into that center one there. Sometimes you have to pull it a little bit so you make sure you get it in the right place. Now you have 4. We're going to do 5 petals on the flower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slip stitch back into that center chain. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 little petals on our flower. Okay. Now we're going to chain 1, chain 1, and we're going to pick this right up just like that. Pull yarn through on that first petal loop. Just pull the yarn through, wrap it, single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then you're going to go into the middle of this stitch right here, in between the 2, right here. So you try to get in here as best you can, in between where those 2 petals come together. You may not be exact, but that's okay. You're just doing a slip stitch, and you slip stitch it into there. Now that's if you want a smaller center in the middle, like that. So what I'm going to do is take this out, back to the chain, and show you what it looks like with double crochets. You'll wrap your yarn over, pull a loop through that petal chain section there, and do a double crochet. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3, 4, and 5. 5 double crochets in that little petal. And then you go into the middle as best you can get in there. It's a little difficult when you're working with small stitches. And you pull a slip stitch in between the two petals. And you have basically the 5 double crochets on the petal. Now we're going to do that all the way around. I'm not going to desert you here. I'm going to stay with you. So we're going to go into the next petal. And since we're doing double this time, we're going to yarn over, pull the yarn through the loop, and do a double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to, of course, in between the 2 stitches, we're going to get it in there as best we can. And pull that chain through and slip stitch. It's real, you know, it's like origami or something. It's so tiny to work with, but it's really pretty. And then you yarn over, pull the yarn through the next petal loop of chains. Okay, get some more yarn here. Double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 double crochets in that petal loop. And we're going to push in here because we're pushy with our hooks. And we're going to slip stitch in between those 2 petals, yarn over, go into the next petal loop, and do a double crochet. You probably should have this by now. I know you know how to do double crochet probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slip stitch in between the 2 petals here. Yarn over. We've done 4 now. Look, we're almost done with the center of the flower. Don't give up now. And once you learn this, you can jump off of this and make all kinds of flowers. You'll figure it out so easily. There are some, though, that can be difficult because they'll go one way and then switch back and go the other way and then switch back and go the other way. Those are a little crazy. We're going to do 5 double crochets in our last loop of chains. 1, 2, 3, get some more yarn, 4, and 5. Okay, now we'll slip stitch in between to those 2 petals here. Sorry if it looks like I'm murdering it. Pull a loop through, slip stitch in between those 2 petals, and chain 1. And this is what we have at this point. We have the cute little petals in the middle. This one I did with a larger hook, so you can see that better. This one I'm using a smaller hook so that I can catch those in the center there. And it's, you know, I like to, as I work with anything I do, even a blanket or a sweater or anything, I like to shape things as I go and, you know, make sure they look right and stuff like that. Okay, so here we are. The next step, because now we've done the center here, we're done with that. So we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to go under the petal that we just made. like this, and connect it in between these two right here that we just did as best you can, just like before. Just gotta pull that loop up. Sometimes it's hard to get in there. Pull it through, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go under this petal here, in between where you put them together, as best you can find it. It's usually right about there. Go through there. Slip stitch into that. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under that petal, in between those two, there's the stitch right there. You see that stitch right there? Go in between those two bars. Sometimes it can be a little difficult, but I have a really good hook that will get into just about any space. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go under the petal. Connect in between the two on that bar, the two bars right there. Try to get in between those two right there. Pull that slip stitch through. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go under. Pull it in like this and go in between these two bars right here. There's two. I don't know if you can see them. There's two there. I'm trying to show you. There's one, and then there's another one right beside it, right there. So you're gonna go in between those two, in between the little petals you made previously. Slip stitch. Chain 1. Now, if you've made it this far, there's no reason to give up because you can do this. It's very pretty. It's a little intricate only because it's small. And you have to make sure that you did all your, make sure all your little chains that we just did are behind your petals. Because these petals go in the front. So you got to make sure they go behind because they are small. So, but they also is what helps to form the center of the flower. So, as I say, I like to shape them a little bit. It helps you get the feel for it, you know, how it is, how the flower goes together. Okay, so now we've chained 1. We're into this first chain that we just completed the round of behind our petals. And we're going to go in, draw up a loop, and do a double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then you'll chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to make a picot here. So what we're going to do is where we left this stitch here at the top of the stitch, we've chained 3. So we're going to put our loop through these two hooks right here, these two loops, pull the yarn through like so, pull it in here like that, and then we're just going to go right back into 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there you have it. Now what we're going to do is, it's a lot of slip stitches here. We're going to slip stitch back into where these came together, the chains that we're going around now. We're going to try to get in between this right there. We're going to try to get right in between there on that little stitch right there, those 2 bars. Go right between there, pull through a slip stitch, and it's basically just to hold that down. So then we're going to pull up a yarn, pull yarn through, and do 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Go back into the top of that stitch and that 2 loops there. Make a picot. Yarn over, do 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slip stitch here. Sometimes it's very hard to get into that little stitch, but you gotta do it. Slip stitch, yarn over, 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 3, slip stitch into the top 2 bars for a picot. 5 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is where we're going with it. And then you got another one coming up. So you're gonna slip stitch through this one here. Pull that down. Whoops. Sorry about that. Sometimes this cotton gets caught. And it's not a pretty sight. Just slip stitch it in. Yarn over. Go right into the double crochets. 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, into the first 2 bars here, slip stitch, picot. 5 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now what are we going to do? We're going to slip stitch right into this little tiny stitch here. Whoops, that's not where I want it. I want it in this stitch. Slip stitch that down. Yarn over, and now we see we're on our last one of the double crochets. Yarn over, pull up the double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 3, slip stitch through the top 2 bars, make a picot, yarn over, do 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to slip stitch back into this teeny tiny little one here. And you know what? You can put this on so many things. Hair bands, clothes, dresses, sweater, anything. You can put it on anything. Make little flowers, hook them together and make a dress, hook them together and make a top. Just about anything. And now here at this point you can chain up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you want to make another one, 6. And then you'll chain up 5 more, go back into the 6th one, and you can connect them together. And so here it is, as promised. I know it took me a while, but I was dealing with this new equipment, and as you can see, I'm still dealing with it. I'll get it together though, but here's the flower. It's such a pretty flower, and you can do so much with it, you know. So hit me up again at Needful Things Again if you have any comments or questions or anything, or if the video was terrible and I got in your way, I'm sorry. I'm just learning how to do all this. Not the crochet, of course, but yeah, so here's your free pattern for the little flower. Hope you enjoy it.